Hey, Red here. Today, we're talking about climate change and how you can make a difference. Wait, no. Sorry, that was Gary's draft. God damn it, Gary. No, you told me you had this all organized. Today, I'm going to be talking about the comic property, Evil Ernie. Now, let's get the answer to one simple question. Is it metal?
Quiet Red Media. Shh.
Evil Ernie. This dude is badass. I used to love reading anything with this character in it, the edgy boy that I was. He's a freaking psychopath, and those are just fun. Evil Ernie was created by the prolific Brian Pulido and debuted in 1991 in the first issue under Eternity Comics. Eternity actually going under just a few years later, then going to Chaos Comics, which is where I picked up reading for the first time. And the art by Stephen Hughes was killer. And the first series he did in black and white was just awesome. Unfortunately, I didn't know about it until much later. It looks really cool. Maybe the epitome of Ernie's art, in my humble opinion. But the character has actually jumped around to and fro quite a lot. It's been published under Eternity, then Chaos, before being picked up by Devil's Due Publishing, and finally coming to Dynamite in 2010. I'm focusing mostly on the pre-Dynamite stuff, as Dynamite changed the character up a bit, and, well, I'm lazy and I don't want to make the distinctions between them. I've always liked the aesthetics of Ernie. He's like a cross between Chamber and Iron Maiden's mascot Eddie, but with a necro-infused twist. Actually, Pulido commented on his inspirations for the character, originally for a screenplay called Psycho Night, when he started sketching up the design and stated that he'd been based on the look of the vocalist of Overkill, Bobby Ellsworth, which I can definitely see. Once he settled on the idea, he had some early pieces of Ernie done, and eventually had artist Eric Mache draw up the first rendition of Old Ernie that really nailed the spirit of the character. Sometime after this piece was done, Pulido decided to make it into a comic instead of a movie, and this is where Stephen Hughes came in, although Mache still did the cover art, which is awesome. The character is a bona fide horror icon as far as I'm concerned. He should be right up there with the likes of Pinhead and Jason Voorhees. I mean, his level of psychosis is easily on par with the most sadistic horror figures out there. You see, Ernest Fairchild is a psychotic killer. That's it. That's pretty much all it is. Okay, that's not really all there is to it. It's about love. Dirty, dirty lovin'. You know how Thanos has that whole decimate life to impress Lady Death thing? Well, Ernie has a similar infatuation with a certain Lady of Death. All he wants is to destroy life in order to impress Lady Death, and maybe get a little nookie in the process. Is that too much to ask? Thing is, he's really good at it. The destroying life part, not the... Never mind. Ernie has a proverbial engine of death. He's got myriad ways to get the job done, unfortunately for everyone else. Even before Ernie met Lady Death, he had psychic abilities. Even as a child, Ernie had the gift of premonition. This manifested in the form of drawings. Anything Ernie depicted in his drawings seemed to herald the future. Included in some of these drawings was a picture of he and his younger brother, of which he had none. But shortly after drawing this, his mother became pregnant with a son. Unfortunately, not long after that, Ernie drew his parents in a car crash, which indeed did take place and caused a miscarriage. His powers grew even further when he developed the ability to hear the thoughts of others, as well as implant his own. After meeting Lady Death in a dream state, she convinces him to destroy all life in exchange for her love. This leads to a killing spree and a series of events that end with Ernie dead after being subjected to experimental procedures while incarcerated in an asylum. However, his death only made things worse. You see, Ernie was resurrected as an undead, superpowered killing machine. Lady Death granted him the power to carry out his task of Megadeth, and Ernie gladly obliged. After this event, Ernie had vast supernatural power. Through a conduit of Lady Death's imbued arcane energy, a smiley face pen he called Smiley, Ernie could raise and control the dead, had increased strength and stamina, immortality, resistance to injury and rapid healing. And even if his whole body was destroyed, Ernie could resurrect himself, even able to exist in the mind of another until the victim was killed, allowing Ernie to resurrect from his corpse. He could emit powerful blasts of arcane energy, and now, instead of hearing the thoughts of other people, he could hear the thoughts of the dead. He could control whole armies of the unliving, calling this collective control the dead mind. Ernie is shown to be able to manifest from seemingly nowhere as some sort of teleportation, and exert a loose influence on reality, almost like reality warping, among many other things. His power is truly vast and terrifying. So, there's a quick rundown of what we're dealing with here. If you're into supernatural horror and you've never checked out an Evil Ernie comic, then you're missing out. It's pretty epic. Now, let's answer the question we all came for. Is it metal? Well, I think it's pretty obvious that it's metal, but how metal? Well, luckily for you lovelies, I've devised a simple set of criteria we're going to use to determine that for sure. The criteria is based on what I felt would make a property, well, metal. It's as follows. Now, I'll give each one 3 possible points. So I'm going to go through each metric and see where it falls on the scale that is metal. that was a typo, but I ran with it, so I hope you're happy. Oh yeah, so I intentionally skipped over some of this before, so let's dig into the tragedy of Ernie, shall we? Like I said before, Ernie had some weird abilities as a kid. He was troubled in more ways than one. His parents, however, did not sympathize all too much with the kid. Instead, they feared him and blamed him for the awful things that happened around him. His parents became abusive and cruel to Ernie, beating him and even eventually killing his pet rat, Smiley. Ernie's power of hearing the thoughts of others allowed him to realize that many of his neighbors knew of his abuse, but did nothing to help or stop it. His parents eventually sought help in dealing with Ernie and his oddities, taking him to a psychiatrist to be treated. This psychiatrist, Dr. Leonard Price, had developed a device called the Dream Probe, which he used on Ernie. This is where Ernie first met Lady Death, becoming infatuated. It is here where she convinced him to kill. After waking from the probe, Ernie went on a spree of murders, including his parents and numerous others. He was eventually stopped and incarcerated in an asylum. And in this asylum, another doctor named Mary Young attempted once more to cure Ernie with an experimental procedure, only to have the machine explode, killing him. So if that's not a backstory rife with tragedy, then I don't know what is. Brutality is a given when it comes to Evil Ernie. The whole series is wrought with brutal violence and gruesome moments of stomach-churning, albeit entertaining, savagery. Ernie is sure to bring the gore. This category can be no less than 4 points. Yeah, it's got that. Dude, Ernie's entire goal is zombie apocalypse, the elimination of all life. That's pretty intense. Even setting that aside, Ernie is always aggressive. He's constantly trying to find people to kill. Yeah, we'll go ahead and give him points for this one. Well, zombies are monsters, right? I'd say that counts. We've got zombies, Ernie himself, which could probably be considered a monster, the goddess of death, and debatable on whether she's a monster per se. There was actually a one-shot called Evil Ernie vs. the Movie Monsters that pitted Ernie against all manner of classic movie monsters. So there's that. He's also come across other monstrous characters like Chastity, a vampire, and Purgatory, who's kind of a vampire hybrid kind of thing. So yeah, monsters. This one's a no-brainer. Yeah, Ernie's whole look was inspired by metal. Just look at him. So the thing about this is that I don't recall Ernie ever meeting face to face with the devil, but he has always been sort of indirectly connected via his associations with Lady Death, who is very much connected to hell. Events involving Ernie have been directly influenced by Lucifer, mostly due to Lady Death's involvement and her connection to Ernie, and hell has been directly featured in Evil Ernie's stories. Though the devil himself takes a more prominent role in Ernie's revamped Dynamite stories, I'm sort of ignoring that version. Still, there's no doubt that hell has been a factor in Ernie's stories. Gotta give him points for this one. And that's a total of 21 points. That puts Evil Ernie right about here. Oh yeah, Metal AF. Sounds about right. I mean, it's got all the good stuff. If I were to compare him to a metal genre, I'd say Evil Ernie's like Death Grind. Super fucking metal. So there's your answer. Is it metal? Oh, extreme metal. Right here. I just wanted to remind all you good folks to check out our website. There you can find free comics and writings from moi, and if you dig it, consider signing up for the email list. I promise I don't spam, and once I've got a respectable number of signups, I'll be moving forward with the graphic novel. You can check out more info about that on the site too. Links in the description. Peace.